If you want to be my friend, you better go and get a pen.
You better.
Maybe we can keep in touch like we did in the old days. It wasn't so long ago. And I wish you well. Oh, sign your pen pals. Very few people.
Him and Sullivan.
In fact,
Him and Chris
you
Sullivan.
and Chris Sullivan might be the only two that have ever known the words to actually
See, I don't
sing
know
it.
Chris Sullivan, but I know that we're not Will Ferrell and we're not
And
Judd
they-
Apatow.
Rose.
We got to show up.
You got to
be
show up.
here.
You got to show up, and that's what we tell people. We always say, Will doesn't have to show up. Yeah, I think we've had. I don't know how many guests we've had on the show now. It's a lot, but yeah, only two have shown up and been like, "Oh, I know the theme song."
Mm-hmm.
Some people fake it.
I'm
really
number
well.
2.
You're number 2 of actually knowing the
Wow.
theme song.
Sullivan did it a cappella.
He did
on
it a cappella,
the
and,
Glam,
but
and
also
then obviously
some
here.
people sell it like they kind of know it, but they're shy to sing it. But you can tell they kind of don't
Can
know
I tell
it.
Because they're trying to be you, because y'all have done it so much that sometimes you stay on it, sometimes you go far out. to the
yeah,
weekend.
you know,
Most
that's
of
a
the
good
time it's
point.
in
Jazz
between.
it.
Yeah.
That's a good
Sometimes.
point. Some people probably sit down and be like, "Well, you guys don't even know it."
Yeah, but you've earned that right. You've been here for 4 years and 1
Sure.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Possible.
that's right. That's right.
Fun story. I got to see our friend Chris Sullivan and your pen pal in New York, and he goes, did not play it because I hit him up the same day we met up.
Yeah.
And he was already wearing his "I Wish You Well" T-shirt.
And that was not
And
intended.
Not intended. And
Yeah.
he goes, Daniel, can I tell you? I ordered 3 of these. I have 4 of them now. And he goes, this is the most positive affecting shirt I've ever owned. When I wear it, I at least 4 times a day, if I wear this, people will say something or like thank you or they like it. He goes, I think it's because it's an outward expressive shirt. I'm wishing
right.
other people well. It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
say something about me.
Yeah.
And I just found that to be really nice. So
Yeah.
the merch
Not because they
works.
know the show. They don't know
They
the show.
do not know the
just
show
like the
at all.
sentence.
Yeah.
But then when he walks away, they say on the back, it says, makeamericagreatagain.org. And people go, oh, well, that changes.
build back great again. We're trying to make that bridge.
That's build back. Yeah, we're trying to
Build
bridge
back
the
great
2
again.
parties. Build back
great again.
Build back great again for the first
sounds like
time.
also sounds like a Lord of the Rings character.
Yeah.
Build back great again.
build back great again. I'm build back great again.
Wasn't there Tom Bandadil? Anybody remember?
Vanderbilt.
Wasn't that in the first one? There was Tom Bandadil.
There can't be a Tom.
There is.
Can I ask a
And it's
question?
a whole side. I knew it wasn't going to be in the movie. It's a whole side mission within the book
Yeah.
where they go and hang out with this guy, and I'm pretty sure it's Tom. I know I'm not doing it right. I'm hoping I am. And people are yelling at me what the real thing is, but it's like Tom Bombadil or Bondabil.
With Bilbo Baggins, dildos were a thing at the time that name was thought of to be the name, right? And
It had to.
certainly
Dildos have been
he
around
went,
since Egypt.
"Oh,
You don't
It sounds
Google
like
Egypt
dildo."
porn?
Because as soon as I heard Bilbo Baggins, and I didn't read the book, so I had to see the movie, and then it was like Bilbo Baggins. I was like dildo, and then I was like, oh, the guy who wrote the book. It was forever
But
ago.
people were named Dick back then and like for 50 years afterwards. So we had this aversion to the
Yeah.
penis humor maybe.
Yeah.
You don't get dicks anymore, right?
I do. But I
But
mean,
I
some
mean-
people don't.
But I mean,
Oh, the names.
but you know what I mean? You don't. No one's like, hey, I'm Dick. Like you just don't get that as much as you
might
maybe
get
got
a
in the
you might get a
80s.
Richie.
No, Richie.
You might get a Richie.
Maybe they switched it to Richard. Why did that become Dick? Why
How
was
did
Richard
Charles
Dick?
and Chuck, William and Bill,
But I can
John
kinda,
and Jack.
I can kind of see those though.
You can see
I can't
that?
see Dick
John and
with
Jack,
Richard.
J.
John and Jack, I can kind of see.
Charles and Chuck.
Yes, I can see it. I can see it.
Really?
Yeah, but I can't. I don't get Dick with Richard. It just seems so weird.
The IC is the best, and then the
Yeah.
H can be a K, I guess, and then the
Maybe
R
it's
is
very-
anyone's.
somebody's
it's
guess.
very Scandinavian, maybe.
Well, it says somebody can be like
Richard.
Richard is actually like,
Dickard.
Descartes.
and then no, don't go to her.
Okay.
And then
well, she said something.
Oh, she was looking it up. You were doing the
no,
producer thing.
no, she said.
Use the microphone,
Stop.
Lisa.
No. First of all,
don't.
the only thing worse than her using the microphone is talking off of it.
Oh, interesting.
So both of these are.
So
bad
then use the
decisions.
microphone. I think is what he's saying.
Dickin is a word, is a name.
Dickin,
Mm-hmm.
like a first name, not
But
Charles.
that's not short
Yeah.
for something.
I don't
Chuck Richards.
So is Rick also of Richard?
Yes. Yes.
There's just so many ways you can go.
I guess it went to Rick, and then somehow that became Dick?
I don't
That's
know.
gotta
We'll
be
never
it.
know.
Folks, you heard it here first on Pen Pals, where we ask the heavier questions.
Are we going to intro our guest? I mean,
no.
Oh, right. Hi.
No. Ramin, I don't know that I know your last name.
Nazer, like
Ramin
the
Nazer.
last name.
That's like last names
Yeah.
are.
You know, sometimes I say like pew pew pew, but I don't know. I just didn't have it in me 2 seconds ago, but now I had it. But yeah, Ramin Nazer, pew pew pew. Great to be
intro
here.
yourself. No, you don't have to intro yourself. Rory, this is Rory's task. He's good at it.
What? Doing intros?
Yes.
Do you know well, actually, you probably do know this because you listened to the show for so long. We assumed that the names were just popping up on like Spotify or Tidal, or however anyone was listening to Apple.
And there's a way
so
in
we
which
weren't
they-
introducing the guests. We were like, you clicked on it, and then someone messaged us like, no, it actually doesn't show the name on the
Depending on
episode.
the path in which you listen.
And I was like, oh, we actually have not. We actually haven't said a single guest name
For a while.
on the show.
then you
The
did it.
podcast that you have with Shane Moss. Actually,
Moss.
first of all, you did animation for Jay and I's show, Rabbit Hole.
At Meltdown, rest in peace.
At Meltdown, rest in peace. Also, Rabbit Hole, rest in peace. That was like 3-4 years ago.
27.
Did that
Long
die
ago.
before
Feels like
Meltdown?
27.
I did,
17.
yeah.
Because
Yeah,
you two
so-
got too busy.
You know, we took the Kumail Jonah time slot, and the expectations are too high. People came out and they're like, these two guys aren't Jonah and Kumail. It's like, of course we aren't. Like,
Right.
those guys, they built a whole dynasty, and then we come, like, trying to have the same banter, which in its own way is fine, but
I don't
the
think
audience
it's your
showed up
fault.
wanting the same thing. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think it was your fault, and I don't really have an explanation
why I
for
brought
it.
this
But
up.
there was this cosmic shift or something in that time. It was time for that building to go, and it was
I think
time to
you're
enter
right.
some dark
I think you're
periods.
right. I think you're right. I think some things just have their time and what it is as a space, especially in the world of like performance. And then when it like dies, it just dies. And I know what you mean. It felt like it's just time. It's so bizarre now to drive past there and all that is gone. That whole block is gone.
What is it? Loft luxury.
I'm
condos?
pretty certain it's condos.
Yeah.
I haven't
But
even
it's-
seen it since then.
You would almost drive past and you would have to either catch like toy tie on the right to go, oh wait, like you have to somebody on the
Yeah.
right has to like jar your memory
Pikey.
because nothing on the left is even there. That whole block is gone. It's all
So you have
condos.
we have plugs.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
a fan of the show,
Yes.
obviously.
He knows when we
We're
do
honored
plugs.
that you are here today.
Really? Hell
We're beyond.
yes.
We're beyond.
I'm in it.
honored.
if I'm ever sad and I'm scrolling through YouTube, I got to remember this moment.
Should we do it?
Yes.
Let's go to the letters. Oh, I grabbed two.
You love this.
I don't know why. Did you think like in the edit it's like fun, like the letters fell down?
I thought it was a perfectly masterful
Thank
Steve Martin, Chevy Chase
whoa, what's
physical
this?
comedy.
What's coming through the
Who else does that? Charlie Chaplin, Josh Fadem.
Does what?
Physical comedy, like perfect
Yes.
physical, like stuff falling, but it's like it looks not intentional, but it is intentional.
Like Biden.
Him with the mic.
Yeah.
Political. That's what's fun. That's what's fun is that Daniel shows that he's paying attention. He
Are you
knows what's
reading
going
this?
on in the world.
I think you
I'll
have
read
to.
it.
Yeah.
Hi there, Rory. Ooh, I love this. Hi there, Rory and Daniel in parentheses. So, power move. Off the bat, no offense intended, though
Oh,
Rory
sure.
is essentially my favorite comedian. Who wrote this? Me? I did write this. Especially the experimental shit with John Doran Conan and Daniel. I only know you from this pod, though your Mark Wahlberg impression that I looked up retroactively is choice. That's a
You
cool
got
way to talk.
something.
I wish I say stuff like that. It's choice. I never say
I like aces.
it's aces.
Yeah.
He's so cool. It seems like you should have on a leather jacket and like be putting a cigarette out. Aces. Anywho, I am reaching out as I am at a crossroads in my life, and any input is appreciated.
Okay.
Essentially, I moved myself to a very rural red state, which is stuck in the 1990s in a number of ways, in 2015, and my very new girlfriend at the time followed. Between then and about 2 months ago, we bought a house, got married, got 2 dogs, and had a kid. All before deciding to move back to my hometown in the Northeast, a smaller city area that is way more civilization than we are used to. A large reason why we did this was because we had a hard time finding people we connected with in that red state area, but now that we are amongst the people of modern day America, we are still struggling to find people as friends in our mid-30s. My question is this: as adults, what is the best strategy to find and form meaningful friendships? Being stuck in some academic system For most of my life, kind of killed my natural instincts here, so any insight would be greatly appreciated. You're new to civilization pallor, Tim.
Ding,
Bing
ding,
bong ding dongs, bing stongs. Man, I gotta say, we get this is
bums
interesting.
me
We
out.
get a lot of like how to make friends as adults type.
I know.
That's
letters.
what podcasts are for.
I think so. I think podcasts are. There is a little bit of hey.
I've
I'm
actually
an adult.
coined a new term about it.
Go for it.
Friend porn.
What is that?
Friend
No,
porn.
give me.
What
Isn't
like
that thirst traps?
nope.
Oh.
I mean it literally, and what I'm saying, except for literally not porn. It is like the dollop, right? Or My Favorite Murder, or like if you find yourself, certainly as a lot of people have in the last 2 years, in an isolation, right, or feeling very alone, we'll let them run it through.
Is it friend porn? No, I mean it literally as I say it, except literally not porn. It's like,
It's
that contradiction immediately.
That I think that some people, it's the shared experience of our friendship, right? Of mine and Rory's friendship, of people being able to experience that friendship, whether that's Dave and Gareth on the dollop.
Oh, you mean through
or the
podcasts
girl-
you
or the
get
girl-
to sort
or
of
the women on the bitch sesh, Danielle and Casey, and
Oh wait, is that what you meant when you said podcast?
what did I say? Podcast.
Did you say podcast?
I said
or you
thirst trap.
No, but you said like making friends as adults. You said, "Oh, it's what podcasts are for."
Yeah, it's
But
a friendship
that's it, okay.
simulator.
And-
It's
yes,
yeah,
and so-
parasocial
and
relationship.
so sharing
Oh, that's
in
a
the
great
friendship
point.
of these 2 to 3 or maybe even sometimes 4 people on a podcast is kind of making you feel like part of a friend group. And the using the term pornography, I just mean is just that intimacy that you are
Sex.
sharing with other people.
I like the full
Yeah.
word with it, not friend porn, friend pornography.
Friend
Food
pornography.
pornography.
But you get what I mean, right?
Oh,
Like,
100%.
yeah, and I share in that as well. Like there are podcasts that I listen to because of the relationship between those
connection.
people is part of the entertainment, even on top of or next to, parallel to the content.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that can be really, really healthy. I think that can really give people a lot of a connection
That's so
and help them
interesting.
feel less lonely. Even if to only know that, if not currently in their own day-to-day life, that friendship or intimacy and ability to open up and be vulnerable and share, they can witness it and experience to know that, like, oh, that is out there. That witnessing that gives me hope and gives me, you see this in sports. You see this in any sort of like achievement. One person climbs a mountain that's never been climbed, and then all of a sudden all these other people do it because you've been able to witness it and see that it can be done. And I think sometimes even in podcasts, seeing real friendships allows other people to go like, well, I know it's out there.
Have you heard the rat experiment thing with that?
No.
The mountain climbing thing. So I forget the term of it. Shane Moss, my co-host, would know
Sure,
the
yeah,
actual
love
term.
Shane.
But apparently when rats solve a maze in one part of the world, other rats in other part of the world also learn how to solve it around the same time.
Really?
It's like kind of like you don't even need to see the person climb the mountain and go, I can do that too. It just, you figure it out at the same time. It's this weird.
That we maybe do have a shared conscious.
Yeah, that's one theory. The other one is like, it's just chance, random, statistical
I'm sorry
regression
for how
to
crazy this is going to seem, but I need to know right now because of what you just said. And I've never asked them this because it feels hack. Do you believe with twins, one can get hurt and the other one can feel it? Do you believe that?
I believe it could be. I haven't heard of that, but if I did hear that was happening,
Like I've
it
heard
wouldn't
stories of
surprise
like
me.
in different locations in the United States, one of them got like hurt and the other one's somewhere else mouth started bleeding.
I believe it.
Oh,
You do believe
even
it.
not even just I feel the pain, but actual visible
Shared trauma, yeah, shared physical.
mouth starts bleeding.
Yes. Do you believe it? Yes or no? It's okay. I mean, you know me.
This feels so aggressive.
Do it.
I just want to know what.
Join the left.
I don't
This is the
wanna
left.
Well, I know what Rory's real answer is.
Believing it is the
It is the left of like conservative in this standpoint is like no, there's no such thing as magic. It's all just
right.
if it's no neural.
But I already know Rory's answer.
I mean,
I'm open to all that stuff.
I'm
If
into
that's
it.
true
Yeah,
and
if
that's
it's
out
true.
there.
Let's go
Well,
punch the
Ramin,
squares. They
I
just
think
left.
Well,
We
that's
can-
what I'm saying. I've never asked.
Well, I
them
think
it
what he
before.
said. I think I'm also like, if someone said, "Well, they did a thing and it's true," I would go, that does sound very believable.
Yeah.
Oh, but it also does sound wildly fantastical.
Wild.
The blood part.
Of course.
But it's hard to understand the connection energetically between
but
all
what
of
do you
us
say when
that's
people
present,
go, I
but
woke up
twins
in
is
the middle of the
different.
night and I found out that must have been right around the same moment my friend's whatever sibling died.
Exactly.
And they
so
wake-
those
they-
moments
I-
are real. Ugh. And just think, we had the scholars here and we didn't press them on any of this. And Daniel
Weeks
sees
ago.
them almost every day. He's never
I don't know.
You
why
got
I
homework
ask.
for
It feels
tomorrow.
hacked to ask. It feels hacked.
No, you
I
don't
think
ask.
them and
You
they're gonna,
experiment.
oh, this question again.
Right.
I wanna ask you guys something really quickly. We could go on and on about how you do make friends as adults. Just a quick answer for me. You've got a kid. There's a good chance as that kid socializes, that's where you're going to meet a lot of like-minded people socially, and you'll probably hang out with them. Not gonna, obviously not going to be identical like Daniel's weird twin thing that he just said, but you will meet people that are fun to hang out with through your kids. But I want to ask this because I think this is interesting.
Yeah.
You've moved to a red state because you maybe want
I know
a little more space,
this is
and
what I
maybe you
said
want a
made me
little more
sad. This is what
affordability.
makes me sad.
So let me ask you, if in that setting you've bought a house for the price that maybe a house is supposed to be, and you're living in a place where you're like, oh, we got a little more, we actually have property, and it's a little more spread. It's a vibe we like in terms of having our own space, but we are human beings, and a lot of us, for the most part, are very social. So you need that social element, but you are in predominantly red state. Now, that can mean a number of things. That doesn't necessarily mean Trump. That just means people who maybe vote differently than you do, or ideologically have different views.
They don't believe in school funding.
But
and
adding
stuff like
that
like
element, it's already difficult to make friends as an adult, and a lot of people, you just kind of who you work with. That's just kind of how it goes.
It's based. I learned recently, friendships are based on either proximity or shared interest, and it used to be just proximity because there was no internet.
and I can tell
and
I can tell you, even between Rory and I, that is true, because before Pen Pals, I think there were times we would go a year. I think we at least once we've gone a year without speaking, and we have a very shared interest. But even without the proximity, we still.
But you
would
run
go,
into that in stand up
all the time. When I was in Montreal,
you saw more people that live here that you saw them there.
And I hadn't realized a lot of them. I realized I hadn't seen in over 3 years.
Yeah, but you don't see it that way.
Really, you're right.
Yeah,
exactly.
because time, it just feels different. But yeah, that's a good point about like the shared interest.
But I want to go.
It's almost like a better thing because proximity is proximity, but shared interest means you're starting on a little bit more solid of a foundation of like, well, we have this.
Do you remember the deal when you knew that it was a work friendship and you felt like they didn't realize that? When you're like, well, when I don't work here,
do now.
We'll never speak again.
Anyways,
but like you know but you never had that where it's just like, oh, I know that we're friends because we work together. Like we'll never talk again, and that doesn't make it a negative. It's just this is the chapter of my life where this friendship lives.
I think that's a situation where proximity dominates the mutual interest.
But I want to keep it on the road you're going of red state.
Yeah. So what's your plan? Like, what would you guys?
Oh, can I say what I thought?
What would you go as your first step as being like, I'm going to go out and meet somebody?
I think it's often a byproduct, and I've never. This sounds like a brag thing, but maybe it is a brag thing.
Dude,
I've never had that problem before. I've heard that question a lot,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying I couldn't end up in that situation, but I've never been in a situation where like I don't have any friends here because I've always done stuff, and then friends kind of came around that. Like you get into comedy, or maybe you're into bowling, or you go rock climbing, like some kind of activity, whether it's physical or not, just get into that. And then you'll start to notice like, oh, they're into that too. Instead of like, okay, we're going to start the friendship networking group and then figure out our interests.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Do you think
gotta
there's
reverse
also an element of like, you do know how to talk to people? Like whereas, and maybe stand-up has caused this because, at least in our field of being entertainers, we have to talk to people we don't know. And so you kind of get over what your fear of that might be. Because I find myself, I don't really talk to strangers, but I have found that throughout my life, I'm now more inclined to like speak up at a coffee shop to say to a total stranger, like, I think that shirt's awesome. And then like a conversation kind of starts. Do you think that there's an element of like, a lot of people just don't have that 100%. Because they're like, well, I don't know you, so why would I talk to you? And they don't mean it in a mean way, but they just mean like, well, some people are like, well, I don't want to bother you.
It's not just
paralyzed.
Guys, it's not just that. It's for us, we know, like, if for some reason I go, hey, I really like that shirt, and they go, fuck off. then you go, Does that happen?
That's my new best friend.
I'm being dramatic.
I like that person.
I'm being dramatic because I'm saying when they do that, any of us would go, you're having a bad day. Take care.
Good luck.
But because we know how to turn away from it so quick.
Yeah,
I think for a lot of people who get intimidated by talking to strangers, if this person is rude or like off-putting or it goes in a bad way, they're like, then what happens? I don't know.
The bar
like,
is
we're
set.
good. We know how to like shut it down and move on.
Or
you know
accept
what I mean?
that that's an individual.
Right.
And not go,
an
everyone
indictment.
hates me.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. The thing I thought you were going to say, Roar, is if you're in a deep red state and you want to make new friends, what is the dance you do with yourself, or do you not even get out on the floor? If you say, man, I really like that person, like they seem like a good time, but I know that they are part of the school board trying to ban trans kids from being able to go to the bathroom.
Exactly.
And so you're like, how do I make friendships where I'm in an area where I know that if we just go past what we think of pineapple, we're not gonna get along.
Yeah.
And I
Is pineapple the lowest level of
something
disagreement?
innocuous? You know what I mean, right?
But you know what?
Do you wait? No. We'll dig in. Do you really think pineapple would be the point of disagreement?
On pizza, it is a very
You're
heated
right.
thing.
There it is.
But
Actually, nailed it.
Actually, that when you said pineapple, I immediately thought this has to be about me.
round them up.
Yeah.
Who likes it? Who amongst us likes it?
But you could get over that. And I've been trying this thing on stage where I keep going like.
Also, by the
people
way,
keep showing
ham and pineapple on a pizza is not even a Hawaiian thing.
No.
Go on.
But I've been saying this thing where like we've gotten to this point in this country where we want to tell everybody like, hey, this hat tells me you hate me and I hate you, or this shirt.
You saw my Amy Daniel hat.
And so I say like, we'd all be able to get along if we stop telling each other like, hey, here's where you're gonna fight with me.
Yeah.
Like just leave it. Like we could have just sat here at this bar and like had this conversation, and I feel bad that the letter made me feel bad when I think I want people to move to these states that are progressive and help like bring them into a more accepting society and culture within their region. But sometimes you must get there and be like, I got to get out of here. Like this is so, and that's like disheartening. And then I think it must be also so challenging to say, okay, I'll stay here and I'll be a blue, quote unquote, blue vote. But to like make friendships with people that, like, man, if I just got it when we go to their house for drinks, I just can't look at the 3 other flags they have hanging outside.
Wait, what are they? Confederate, Nazi,
Trump on a
police line, police blue line.
Blue line.
Okay, Confederate is like the most. No one will put Nazi.
But even the other way, like if I went to somebody's house and they had forgive me because this is in my current, like I do this joke, but if I went to somebody's house and they had like a Rachel Maddow flag or an MSNBC flag, I'd be like, are you just trying to fight with everything?
But you'd also be equally annoyed. You're like, what? Here's what I don't get.
Flag now.
Yeah, but wouldn't also
it's the
just be
worship
like,
of it though.
Like throw something in my house. Like shut up.
Yeah.
Just put it away.
But it's so funny too because in those instances you'll also find that a lot of times they're also deeply religious, or they think they are. So you will see the cross, or you'll see that they want you to know this is a Christian home. It's usually always Christianity. And it's so interesting to me, specifically because of not worshiping false idols, and you just want to go, but you are doing that. You know that you are. And you're not just worshiping like, well, I have this flag because I want you to know who I am. That isn't what you want. You want this because it has something else for your ego, and also the person and people in terms of politicians who stand behind this symbol. You want everyone to know, I back them up no matter what. You are worshiping so many icons and false idols that it's almost impossible to keep up with. In fact, you've dedicated so much worship to who they are that you're unwilling to see their faults because of it, because you think it will affect everyone's opinion of you being someone who chose wrong. If you find out Ted Cruz is a piece of shit, you can't just go, oh yeah, he is. Instead you gotta go, yeah, but I backed him up.
Right.
Like for instance, I say this in my act about Nancy Pelosi, where I'm like, I don't give a fuck about Nancy Pelosi at all. I don't care about her at all. If she said she's gonna do something that I supported and she does it, I go, that's why I supported you, because you did it.
Right.
But if you say you're going to do it and then you don't do it, I hate you as much as the person I didn't vote for,
Right.
who I thought wouldn't do something
Right.
good. And I can't.
But the problem is, too, is like a lot of those people that voted for Cruz, he's doing the things they want him to do.
It's yes, there also
Also,
that
like,
element,
have
yes.
you? I say this: the farther left you go, the farther you get from Biden. The farther right you go, the closer you get to Trump.
Interesting, Daniel.
Like the far left can't stand Biden; they hate him. The
Yeah.
farthest right are like Trump's a king.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he's got fans.
yeah. The
Biden
more, the
has
deeper
zero
you.
fans.
Yeah,
The
he's not in the
farther you
middle
go-
because
Yeah.
he can't play the middle.
Yeah.
You need extremism to do the thing.
But I wonder
to
if-
know that you don't really know how to do the job or what it is or what you're supposed to do, and also if it doesn't naturally come from a place of genuinely wanting to help, whether you're able to or not, but
Right.
coming from a place of genuinely wanting to help,
Right.
you can't win in the middle if you don't actually know what you're talking about.
Right.
But if you go extreme,
Right.
you don't have to know
All you
what
need's
you're
anger,
talking about
blind anger.
because you're playing
On
different
both sides.
cards and they're
Yes.
based on emotions. They're not based on material evidence of progress in any way. Even if you're conservative or liberal, if you don't know what you're doing, then you need to be a fucking salesman. If you know what you're doing and what you're
Right.
talking about,
Right.
you're not begging me for
Well,
your
it's just
vote.
facts. It's
You're just
facts
going,
of
well,
how
you're
you
going to
feel.
vote on
Yeah.
what you believe, but anyways, I'm smart and I know how to fix it. When that person says they don't need me, I'm like, you might know what you're doing.
This is gonna sound like a joke. I want to ask you guys a genuine question.
Straight face
If
on.
I think about
I
it
die
from
laughing.
the other perspective, right? Like a dyed in the wool, think of your like angriest far right person. And I'm not categorizing all that. I'm just saying think of that person. And they move to the Castro district in San Francisco. So they're the opposite of this letter, right? Where they're
I
like,
can't
I'm in
find
this
real-
deep,
Yeah.
I'm in this deep blue
I can't
state,
find
and I
my
can't.
boys.
Do you- and maybe I'm blinded. I'll give that caveat of maybe I'm blinded by my own bubble.
Sure, go ahead.
But do you think it's odd that if you were, give me grace, listener and friends here in the room, do you think it's odd that if you were in a deep, aggressively red state, you would go, yeah, I really like them. It's cool. We went over to their garage. We had a couple drinks. We had a good time. But like once you start digging in, they're just so angry. They're just so like, fuck these people and get these out of here and don't help them. And then if you go the other way and you're like, yes, we moved to the Castro district and I go over to this guy's house, we have a beer. And once you get past just a couple of drinks, they're just so fucking accepting. They're just so like, how can we help these people? And why, and how can we make sure that this person has an okay life
Yeah.
and doesn't, and lower the suicide rate for these types
You know
of
what I
veterans?
realized when I was-
But I'm just saying on a fundamental level, and I know that sounds like a joke,
Yeah.
and maybe I'm blinded, where though people go, actually,
No.
your side is very angry too,
But
and,
you're not.
and I would give
you're
there
not.
is, but isn't it just like one? You're like, I just can't stand all the hate and anger, and then it was like, I just can't stand how like I have people given the last election who don't speak to me anymore, and the best I can figure out, maybe I'm just being nice to myself, is they're sick and tired of me caring about people.
No, it's not that. It's not that.
But I'm
It's
saying
not
they're
that.
like, he's always with the
Yes.
I care about this, and I was like, and that's what you don't like about
Yes,
me?
it's not. I don't think it's not. They're not going.
And I'm
Oh,
genuinely
I fuck
asking
you.
you.
No, I think this is real. I don't think there's people going, fuck you, this guy cares about people, because they interpret themselves to also be doing that. And they interpret themselves and the information that they're gaining.
Well, at least caring about
not really
themselves.
gaining, but the information that they're being fed and where they choose to get their information. A lot of times, and this goes to like church too, and sadly, like educational institutions, it tries to inform people who their enemies are. Like you're not smart enough to know who your enemies are. So if I tell you who we as a group have decided the enemies are, so if every day someone told you, Daniel, illegal immigrants are coming into this country and they want to, some of them are killing white people and they're going to kill your family and they're going to take your jobs and they're going to do these things. If you choose to listen to that information every day and you choose to start believing it, then when you say you support illegal immigrants, they go, that's because you don't care about anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And they
a good
think
point, Rory.
they
It's
are
a
the
very good
ones
point.
doing it. And the sad thing is, and it isn't like you can't have that sort of misinformation on the left as well.
For sure,
You just
yes.
know that there are people in the middle, whether they identify with whatever political party, who just have the ability to go, I think you're bullshitting me. And I don't do it with far right Republicans all the time. I do it with like a lot of Democrats too. I go, oh, that's sad because I kind of lean your way and I think you're fucking bullshitting me.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, people don't want to call someone out for bullshitting them because they think they've chosen a side. And when you choose the side, you die for that side.
Right.
As opposed to going, well, what if you just die for the people? What if you just die for people? And you go, well, who is here to help people and who's here to hurt people? I don't care what your colors are or who you represent or what you think.
They think
bathroom.
they're helping, though. Maybe it doesn't work with
Exactly.
the immigrant example, but for instance, like let's say conversion camps for gay people. It's kind of like this tough love thing. It's like, no, you have Satan inside of you, and we don't want you to burn in hell forever. Like that's really.
And they think they're trying to help.
Yeah, because they are in that reality tunnel. Like, of course that's helping. If the world is consist of eternity of suffering and you're saving them from
I just had the conversation with people in my family about that, right? Who at one point in their life thought that was a real thing, and they tied it to their Christianity, and now they're like, none of that works. I go, yeah, there's only 3 outcomes for homosexual conversion camps. One is you eventually realize it's bullshit and just go back to living your natural homosexual or LGBTQ plus QA life, or you lie your whole life. And you just say, I lie.
And you go crazy.
Or you kill yourself.
Yeah.
Or you commit suicide.
Yeah.
Like,
either way, all mentally crushing.
Except for the one where you get out. And,
first one is
the
therapy.
realization you go, no, fuck this. Yeah.
But
I mean, like when someone goes, I'll just live a lie. You're like, that's the this fucking camp taught you, hey, just live a lie.
I said it to a family member of mine this summer. We were talking about, like, because a person in Rochelle put on Facebook to everyone, and they've been known in the town, they've spent their whole life there, that they now identify as a woman.
Yeah.
And my family member read me the post, and I said, I go, how fucking brave in Rochelle to put everyone on notice. This is who I am now.
Deal.
This is what you call me. And my family member goes, I just don't remember stuff like this happening. And they weren't saying what I'm about to say, but we got into a conversation about it. And I go, I know you hear a lot of people go, you go back to the 60s, 70s, 80s. You didn't have all these transsexuals. You didn't have all these gays. And I looked at my family member and I go, but you did.
Yeah.
You had all of them.
Yeah.
Only here's what happened. They either moved away and you never saw them again.
Yeah.
They lived a lie their entire life, and you're always like, why is that person so angry?
Including
all the
people
time?
you're friends with right now.
Yes.
That you still don't know their
Or
true
again,
self.
they committed suicide, and you just thought they were sad or mad about something that you lumped into depression, which in the 80s you still were like, did what?
Yeah.
So it's always been there, but it's about that like acceptance, and like you were saying too, where people just they sign up for these things. And you're like, this is nuts.
But also more people are gaining voices. So you hear about it more where people are like, well, people are changing, so they're doing this. It's like things have always been the way they are.
You used to not be able to be left-handed. Left-handedness used to be Satanism, and then
that's
it becomes.
one I'm still
Yeah.
with. I still support. That's the flag.
But
I
you're
have
right.
at my house.
They would tie children.
When you come to my house, there's a flag that
Arms.
says clearly a right.
But and then sometimes with the wind, you're like, oh, we need to move it back. It looks like a right because of the wind.
But I had to go draw lines on it so people knew it was clearly this was the palm.
It's a 7, not a
I can't tell. Is that
upside
the
down L.
knuckle or the palm? That's the palm. It's a right hand. If that's a knuckle, it's a left hand.
I think you were right to come all the way back, and well, I'm sure we need to get out of this, but to come all the way back, your children will put you in social circles. Well, hopefully you'll find some parents that you like.
I think so. And I also think good luck. You got to live where you feel good. But I got to say, we get it a lot about how to make friends as adults, and I just don't know that there is a right answer outside of what Ramin has kind of reminded us of. It is important to remember.
I have a great tip.
Well, I think it's important to remember that like similar interests is such a great foundation. So I think start there. What is considered a hobby? What are you passionate about? What do you like? And then now we'd have that added benefit, like you said, of going online to finding those people, or seeing who's in the town or the city or wherever you live now. And if you're saying you're in a more populated city, I guarantee you there's 47 versions of each interest that you have.
Well, also, as much as we started out by saying that podcasts like your guys's and ours can also be friendship porn.
Or just regular porn. Just
a
go
lot
nuts.
of other type of work.
That's where I meet my friends.
I should have worn shorts.
We talked recently about trades, and we talked about carpentry. A lot of stuff can be like solitary work, and things like hobbies and things can be solitary.
Yeah.
I would say if you have a podcast that you love, and it podcast centers around friendship being exemplified in that podcast, go to live recordings of that.
Yeah.
If they have a tier where there's like a meet and greet or like a hang for people at a certain level, go to that, because as we've found with
We've
the Pen
become
Pals
friends with our community.
but even they've become such good friends with each other, because they're like, oh, you like that type of friendship? It must indicate what type of person you are. I like that type of friendship
Yes.
too.
Tribes.
I bet we,
exploding tribes everywhere that weren't here 10 years ago.
Exactly.
Because there was talk radio before, and it sounds pretentious to be like, well, it's this new form of art. It's conversations without much of a plan, but it really is. Like, they didn't have
Give
that,
Limbaugh credit where it's due. Rush.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Is he dead now?
Yes, he's dead.
When did he die? Like
day.
2009
He's
or
gone.
something?
No, we can move on. He's gone.
Okay. Take us out, Rory.
Well, I just got to say, I think that was decent advice. I don't know. Tim, you tell us. Let us know how things pan out, and we'll put it on a paychee. But in the meantime, we wish you well. Sincerely, your pen pals, Rory Scovel,
Daniel Van Kirk, and
Ramin Nazer coming at you live.
coming at you live from Pen Pals. And we're back. Folks, you know what time it is. It's promo time. We gotta get a little jingle or something like
that would be
promo time.
it's too intense.
Then that's what people just 15 seconds.
Yeah,
15
yeah.
seconds.
I love
15
it because
seconds.
once you hear that promo, you know to jump.
Yeah, you hit the jump.
Do
Yeah.
people really not send in jingles, or you just
No.
they're not good enough?
No one sends in
We've
jingles.
only asked for
Patrick from the Winter Sounds has sent us a plethora of jingles that has taken us, I think, more than a year to even start to talk about that are actually like really great. Daniel and I reviewed them. We're like, we're gonna use this one. We haven't done anything, which is kind of how we do the show. But people do send us covers of the theme song. And
good song.
I gotta say, even ones
Justin's
that,
great.
and I don't mean to be rude, but even ones that maybe don't sound great, it's still every time it's impressive that they change the genre of the song into whatever they turn
Yeah,
it
we had an
into.
emo
Every
one.
time it's impressive. And then some people send them where you're like, oh, you're like a real musician. This is like crazy. This is like a great voice, great playing. My announcements are super fast. Go to the website, see what dates I'm going to be on the road. I'm on Physical Season 2, which is now wrapped up and gone. So if you want to go retroactively
Still
watch
there,
it
yeah.
all, go do it on Apple TV Plus. But yeah, that's it for me. Starting to hit the road for more stand-up.
Yeah, well, in November we've got.
And on I know I make fun of how bad my website is, but I did go on and add all the dates
Wow.
to
Good
my
for you.
website, so they're there. So check that out.
For me, I'll be headlining in Honolulu the 8th, 9th, and 10th of
That
September.
is so snazzy.
Go to danielvankirk.com. And then Sklar's and I are doing a little run of Nashville, Chicago, and New York. That's in October. I think it's like the 13th, 14th, 16th. That stuff should all be up at danielvankirk.com. And then, as always, I have other little stuff.
You have a
I do.
blog,
Yeah,
and
a little
outside of that, you have a
Patreon.
blog.
More of a vlog.
You and Shane, you're doing.
I get one.
Fucking
So
fest.
yeah, go to Honolulu. Go to Honolulu. See Daniel. He's
Yeah, thank
done
you.
by the 9th. Then you fly to Raleigh, North Carolina. Me and Shane Moss are doing a camp out festival at Lakeside Retreats. It's
Wow.
going to have everything there. Just everyone. Aerosmith is going to be there. Old man fashioning a kayak out of a log. Go to Mind Under Pod to see the lineup. It's a
Mind
great
Under
time.
Pod?
Mind Under Pod. It's
Right.
called Mind Under Matter, but we only got
I love it.
mindunderpod.com. But that's September 9th through 11th. And then see after the 11th, you're doing Sklar shows, right?
It's our podcast,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's.
And then I'll be before that though. We start taking a timeline together.
Yeah. We're
I'll be
jumping
in
around.
DC at the DC Improv just before that, and then he starts that.
But if you're
tour.
low on cash, skip it.
Skippies, get to that Lakeside Retreats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in Raleigh, North Carolina.
What will for 3 days, the 11th through the, what did you say, 9th, 10, 11?
Mm-hmm.
What is like the like, walk us through like a day, because this is the first time you guys
First
have done
time.
this. It's a huge venture. I talked to Shane about it. It sounded
He's
insane.
nuts. He's
What-
been to a psych ward before. I
Yeah.
don't know why I'm doing this, but it's my destiny.
Because this is how you're supposed to live your life. I think someone's been to a psych ward and they have an idea. You go, I'm going to see it through, because at the end of the day, this is at least a movie.
Yep.
That I'll write. What's like? Give us like something at the camp. Like if someone's just got there, like what are they looking forward to? Like what is going on at it?
So it's just a beautiful lakeside. It's called Lakeside Retreats, but there's a beautiful lake, lots of trees, activities. There's going to be bands playing. There's going to be comedians performing. There's going to be science talks because Shane is really into science and has these connections to like Dan Ariely and Marty Hazelton and all these people giving science talks. There's going to be good food there. Really, it's just an excuse to get out of the kind of boxes we've all got ourselves into.
I love it.
And be out in nature
Now,
and have
if
all
if I'm on my way, do I bring everything? Like bring you like people are coming in. Treat it like you're coming to a normal campsite. You brought your tent, your stuff.
Yeah, you should bring everything, but we also
food will be for sale.
Yes,
Okay.
and there's also going to be options to have that stuff taken care of if you don't want to bring a tent and all that.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
another option on the thing. It's all in this brochure.
Yes.
And there, but and this is incredible because I've never even been to a camp out festival before. This is my first camp out festival, which speaks to how good it'll be, or it'll be so bad.
No.
that's got to be the first one. No, it's impossible.
Here's
for it to
why
be
I think
bad.
it's impossible to be bad, because at the end of the day, because your baseline is you're still camping, and like we had said in our previous letter, you're more than likely camping with a lot of similar like-minded people who are like, yeah, we're all here to hear the science talk. It's like, all right, then I guess the vibe is going to be pretty laid back. We all know the deal.
Sure.
And it's
I think
free-flowing.
no matter what. I think also you have music and comedians, and people are going to be like drinking and fucking smoking, doing their, whatever the fuck they're going to do. So even at the base level, if someone's like, it was bad, like, what'd you do? We camped out for 3 days. Like, that's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
There's really no
Precisely.
bad to it. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, definitely check that out. If that seems like it's in your wheelhouse, or you know people that are where that's very accessible, Raleigh-Durham, hit up your friends and tell them to go and check it out.
And our show is just the perfect size to where if we were too big, it would be a mess. You don't want to do a camp out festival with your listeners because the number gets to a point where you're going to have some crazies there, and you don't want to be too small because then no one's going to be there.
Right.
And it's that
and you could just
sweet
do it at your
spot.
house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere between Firefest and the Juggalos. You
Yeah,
wanna
and
be right in that sweet spot.
we comment on the Firefest all the
gathering.
time, and we joke that we're like, we never said this wasn't going to be Firefest. So if you,
In
say
fact,
this is
we
just like-
liked Firefest.
Yeah, we love the single slice of cheese crooked on the styrofoam and the
remember
disaster
that?
tents.
Wild.
Didn't it feel weird? I mean, people were in like bad situations, but when you saw this picture, you're like, you get what you get. Like you sort of felt like
I was
like,
here on
I
a
made
media
the right
pass.
choice.
I didn't
lied
pay for a
to.
ticket. I was here on press media. I'm here to report of the atrocities. Yeah, I still like watching you suffer. Isn't it funny how we like watching people suffer,
made me
even
feel
though earlier
horrible.
we were just
know,
talking about
I know.
leftism and like they want to hurt people,
Yeah.
and we like
Especially-
to support people.
I don't know.
Especially
That
if you-
stressed me out. I felt they all got lied to.
I know.
Oh,
I
that
did feel bad for the
stressed me
people. But then you
out.
also because you start to interpret like what personalities of like would do stuff where you're like, oh, I bet I don't like
but-
you so good. But you
don't
do.
forget,
but
Rory,
if you're a human, you
we're
feel
the type
bad
of
that you
people
felt
who
that way.
say yes.
Exactly, it comes secondary.
What's
It's
that?
just-
But don't forget, like we're the type of people who are like, come on. And there's been times I've been roped into things I would never of my own, but I was like, yeah, I'll go along and see what it's like.
Yeah.
So those people were there too. Of like,
You know
would
what?
never.
As you get
have-
older, that thing, the most extensive version of getting roped into something, is just going to dinner. Like it doesn't get great.
yeah, you drive
I didn't wanna
yourself. You
eat
can
with
leave
them.
early.
That's as far as it goes the older you get. It's never anything like, oh, we went to a concert I didn't want to go to. Shall we?
Yeah.
Let's go to the letters.
Okay.
I'm gonna start crumbling it up and act like it's a.
Has there ever been a pen one? They've always been printed, right?
No.
Or I did it. Did I
we
just
get
ruin
handed them all the time.
No. We get them all the time.
Okay, good.
These are all emails. If it's printed like this, it's emails.
Or it was handed to us but typed.
That's true. That also happens on what
So
we
you
like
can
to
read
call
it better.
stationary. On stationary. So, yeah.
Okay. Ready?
Yep.
Dear Daniel and Rory.
Isn't that weird? It's crossed out.
Is it?
No, I mean they got it right. See what they did? They thought
They started and then they go, wait, what am I doing?
They
And then
wanted
that
to go
watermark
D
if you're-
first
They
because
They
didn't
wanted to
do
go D first?
Yeah, because it's in alphabetical order in both scenarios, unless you start with a van. But you're both van.
that's right.
I'm van too.
Yeah.
Ramin Van Nazer.
I think everybody knows what was intended here. I never wanted to procreate, and everyone has known this, including my in-laws. I guess they were in denial. 2 Christmases ago, my husband and I excitedly announced to his parents that we planned on adopting. That was the last time my father-in-law ever spoke to me, and I haven't seen him since. To be brutally honest, this doesn't bother me at all. What bothers me is that it puts me in a difficult position if my new teenage son ever asks why he hasn't met his paternal grandfather. He has met my mother-in-law 2 times in the year we have had him. As info, they live only about 20 minutes away. Let's call my husband Homer and my father-in-law Abe, shall we? The insult to injury for me is that Abe does still talk to Homer, because not having a biological grandchild is all my fault, don't you know? And it seems perhaps it is only so that Homer can be his personal IT support and come by to help with things around the house as needed. I've expressed to Homer that I don't like the idea of him willingly being used by his dad when Abe doesn't even acknowledge the rest of his family. Homer feels like he's in such a tough position because his parents are understandably really important to him. I suspect that if I asked him to cut ties with his dad, he would, but I can't bear to do that. Instead, every time he takes a phone call from Abe or goes to visit him, I find myself with my stomach in a knot full of feelings of resentment and betrayal. My therapist is mostly of the mind that I just try radical acceptance. This is something I've never been able to figure out. I recently read that detachment is considered a virtue, and that makes a lot of sense to me. In addition to feelings, I've always struggled with the ability to let people go and things go. This is, of course, only if they are not toxic. On the flip side, I can hold a grudge to my grave. I'm not proud of that. I'm in my mid-30s, and the thought of loss and detachment has been on my mind a lot. It seems the older one gets, the more difficult it is to replace everything lost along the way. Losing people, I think I fear loneliness and lack of richness in my life. Losing things, I think I fear the loss of what they represent to me. Usually options, opportunities, choices. Losing feelings I have regarding something or someone, I don't know. I don't know what that fear is. Numbness? Boredom? Not sure. What are the best ways you or others you know use to let go? Your pen pal, Kristin.
Thought she was going to say Marge.
Man, Marge would have been good.
Mm-hmm. No, it took a twist there.
And then a real name just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I gotta say, this seems so. I'm with her 100%. I think everyone is.
Which part?
The adoption thing. That seems so absolutely bizarre to me. If we're getting fed all of the information.
What part?
The father-in-law
okay.
and the mother-in-law only coming over twice, and they're only 20 minutes away. It's not like they live across the country where you can kind of go, well, I mean, it's travel.
Right.
But they're 20 minutes away, and the father-in-law hasn't spoken to her since they announced they were going to be adopting. I can't understand anyone in their right mind who doesn't understand the importance of adoption and also the incredible courage it takes to adopt and be someone who adopts a child. That is so. It's massively important, not just in this country, in the world, but in this country, it's a huge issue. And to be a couple that says, well, let's do our part to try to help alleviate the pressure that is on that system and take a child and see if we can give them a good life.
Yeah.
To me, is so commendable. If someone told me that, I would almost go, oh my God, that's incredible.
Yeah, you don't have to like the
having
kid.
A child, we can all have a child. If people have a child, they have a child. I just mean when someone goes to adopt,
Rory, you're a caring person. You just talked about the entire scope of this. This is a father-in-law. If you made me put my money where my guess is, who says, if my son had married someone else, I would have a grandchild that is actually my bloodline.
My bloodline.
And
bloodline
this
so
child that
important.
you've adopted is not of my bloodline, and because of your presence in my son's life, he will not have a child that's in my bloodline, and you are to blame.
Yeah.
That is exactly how this guy sees this.
Yeah.
And
I think his
I
real
would
name
probably
might be
guess if someone's married to this person for that long, they aren't that, and I'm talking about the mother-in-law now, they're not that far from him, from her husband, but has more of a care for her son and his happiness, so she's willing to go over there twice to help make him feel a little bit better about the decisions he's made.
Like I said, there is a chance we're maybe not getting the full spectrum here, but assuming that we are, it seems so insane, even from the mother being like, well, I went over there twice. It's like, shut the fuck up, go. This is your fucking family. You're going to die and go, well, good, I'm glad we shut them out because they didn't do what we wanted them to do.
Yeah, God says, good work, Abe.
Well, we have to have the bloodline. It seems this is, I'm not saying this is the right thing, but if it's me, I'm telling the husband, like, hey, we're not doing it anymore. We're not good. If he's like, yeah, but it's my dad and he makes me happy. I go, we're getting away from happiness. No.
Wait, why does he have to stop?
I'm too extreme.
I mean, no, you're not.
Why does he have to
my
stop
attitude is,
though?
I would give what you get.
Yeah.
You know what we're getting from them? Nothing. So
Yeah.
you know what we're giving them?
I know.
Nothing.
But I also want to be like, maybe he can repair it and say something. Like, to me,
tough shit.
Homer's got a lot of lifting here that I think he's not doing. Because if it's me, and I see that every time I go over there, my wife is like, yeah, I'm fucking knotted up from emotions. I think you got to go, well, Homer, who do you think is right here? Your wife or your parents? And are you just placating your parents because you don't want to have a hard conversation? So you honestly, Kristin shouldn't have to say, hey, I don't want you hanging out with your dad anymore. I think Kristin should go, how have you not sort of gotten involved? Like, shouldn't you have already said something like, what do you think about your adopted son over here? What do you think about your choice to do this? What do you think about us as a family and what we're doing? Like, go defend us. Go defend this choice.
What about if he hasn't already, when your adopted child puts it together?
Yeah.
And goes, so this person doesn't value me in your life, and that isn't enough of a wall for you to go, well, then fuck off.
Yeah. And now Homer's got that friction with this kid down the road.
Eventually, when they go, oh, so they said I don't exist, and you said, cool, I'll still come over and help with the modem.
Yeah. It's always the modem.
Well, it's the IT.
What is
He's
the
IT.
password? What is the password?
I'll ask you as a question. What are your feelings on the ability to possess detachment?
Possess detachment. That's an oxymoron right there.
Oh, it is.
That's actually why people get into that trap, because you're trying to possess it. And you're like,
Well,
how do I use activity to let go?
Would you say that you own a virtue, that you have a virtue, that a virtue is yours?
All right. Do you think
Because
detachment?
You could.
So in the letter, she says, I read that detachment is considered a virtue. So that's what I mean by if you possess detachment.
I have a question. I have a question before you get to your question. Or maybe you already got to
I've already gotten to it.
Do you think detachment is a virtue? And like, what are we saying?
That's what I'm asking.
But what do we mean by that? Like, what do we mean by detachment?
I mean, it's like patience, right? It's a good thing to have. I forget what
Yeah.
a virtue actually is defined as. It's maybe something that you constantly are striving to be in the orbit of, but you can never like be infinitely patient unless you're one of those gurus that we read about.
Yeah.
But
I think a virtue.
Ram Dass, you can say it.
A virtue.
let's get Pete in here.
Yeah, I'm making it up, but a virtue I would consider a quality that has a positive effect in your life. So that once it falls into the realm of that's a positive quality you have, that's virtuous. It's virtue that you have that. I think that detachment's positivity is determined by the root in which it's coming from. So if you detach from positive people in your life or good things, but you're doing that out of fear, or you're doing it out of you don't want to do the work on a relationship or try to repair something that you should repair that is worth repairing, then maybe it's not a virtue to have that detachment. If you are able to detach because someone is only bringing toxicity into your life or negative influence in other ways, and you have the ability to go, you know what? I have to detach from you. So it's the root of how do you wield detachment? Because I will say in my own life, I've detached from things out of fear, but I also think that there's been times where someone has treated me so poorly and I go, okay, well, I'm done with you. And I've had other people be like, how can you still got it? I go, no, you don't got it. They only brought bad.
But does she have to do anything? Because I thought it's just the husband going to do modem stuff. That's his biological father.
Yeah,
It's not my biological father. Like, why does she have to control where he goes and fixes modems? Can't she just be like, well, no, I don't get along with the father.
I think that's why because she said that she could tell him she doesn't want him to go over there anymore, and that he would probably go, okay. But she doesn't want to be the person that does that. So I think she agrees
good.
I think she's.
I agree. I agree with you because if there's any reason he stops going over there, he needs to have made that realization, like you said.
100%. But I think if I'm sitting here and I'm her, I think I am looking at my husband going, "You guys haven't talked at all. Like you guys are you're still going over there to hell." Like,
but
I think
he might
I would
be
just
thinking
be confused by that.
He might be thinking you don't think I've been working on this my whole life. You don't think I grew up with this asshole.
Yeah, I think that.
That's true.
I think
he's indoctrinated to it.
Yeah, there's a chance he can't fully see it the same way. I mean, maybe it's just a hard conversation these two got to have to go. This is your family now. Your family is me and our adopted son and you, and it's the three of us. And we fully expected it would be the five of us with your parents being a part of our lives. But because we adopted a child, that made them have feelings that they decided not to have a relationship
They
with us
detached.
anymore because we adopted a son. And I think I would look at my husband and I would go, does that make you feel anything to where you think you should say or do something? Because the complacency of it through inaction makes me think that maybe you agree that they're right about not talking to us, because you're going, well, I'm still talking to them, but you're not going, hey, I kind of wish we all hung out. The more the merrier. But instead, I mean, I think it just confuses me, because I would, if Homer's my husband, I'm like, well, how was it today?
Do they say where they live? Because maybe they live in L.A. and it's just the general thing. You don't talk to people for 5 years. Like, oh, I've been meaning to.
They're going to say it's L.A. and you're like, maybe the parents live in Venice and they're in Eagle Rock. And it's like, that's a world away.
That angle works even better.
Yeah.
That's a lifetime away. You're not going out to Venice. Come on.
But haven't you had people in your life, and forgive me if you're one of them, you have no, there's no onus on you to admit that. But
Yes, I do. It's the fucking Mark Maron podcast.
what do you mean?
Oh, just like
gotta-
to like hold back like deep emotional stuff during a recording. I'm philosophically against it.
Oh,
I have to say my social security number, whether I have AIDS, all that stuff.
No one. That was one of your promos. Anyways, go to my site. It's 237.
but have you ever had anybody in your life where like they literally, a lot of times it's with parents, where they'll have such a horrible parent, I'm just going to use that example, who maybe like would beat them or beat their other parent or whatever it is, and they go, yeah, but what are you going to do? That's your dad, that's your mom, and I look at them and I'm like, no, like,
right?
Fuck that. Like
Yeah.
like you don't, it's interesting. Forgive me, one of you guys just kind of made this clear. Abe's wife, and but really Abe has detached from them.
Yes.
In the scenario, which I would say is
Immediately.
negative, because you're detaching because you don't want to accept.
He's holding it.
And
He's holding the anger.
Yeah, and Kristin's wondering if detachment could be good for her because this is only bringing her negativity. Should she learn better to be and it's in the movie Stand By Me. Like he says, I could never understand why I didn't give a shit about my dad who never laid a finger on me, but Teddy loved his dad who had nearly killed him. And there's like this like affinity to like, well, I got to hang on to this. I got to try to make this. It's like, no.
Now bring up Tool.
Let
You
it
got to use a
go.
Tool
Anyways,
example.
What Maynard says a lot of the time is, I think something that intrigues me here is that Abe, upon hearing about this adoption, I mean, she said they have not spoken since they announced that they were going to adopt a child. And I think Abe is of the mindset that if I stop talking to you, you should be able to do the math as to what I'm upset about, and you should change and think about it, and instead of going.
And what does that do to you though, Roy?
Exactly, it alienates you.
That makes me so easy to go, oh, really? Fuck off.
I know.
You've made this so easy. Because if you hated that I adopted a child and you still were coming around and bringing gifts and wanting to be loving, but you were, I would be like, oh, this is so hard because you're a piece of shit.
Because you are showing
but you're
up.
trying to like be a part of it. Yes.
Yeah.
And I would, but to the fact that you go, hey, I want nothing to do
with your life.
Perfect.
It isn't just. It literally is, to me, is going. I never gave two shits about you to begin with, because all you did was tell me you were going to do this thing. And because I have feelings about that thing, I'm willing to go, well, then go too. Because I'm not going to sit here and go, like, let's give Abe the devil's advocate. Let's say Abe has a point to wanting a grandchild, and like the adoption's not. Abe still can't just go, hey, Kristin, can we talk? I just want you to know I just have strong feelings. And you don't have to sit here and go, he's right. But imagine Abe going, I just have really strong feelings about my bloodline and DNA, and it's just something I was raised, and I thought there's a dialogue. They don't have to agree, but to just go, oh, you guys are adopting? All right, well, let me get my AirPods
It's
out.
the epitome of passive aggressiveness.
Why do I think Abe has
It's almost
AirPods?
aggressive.
Yeah.
too.
It's aggressive.
And it wouldn't be that bad to even pretend to like the kid if you were actually working on it, where maybe it's like, of course I don't love this kid immediately, but I'm going to pretend, and maybe like 3 years down the line, I do love this kid. And
Imagine Abe being like, you know who's fucking awesome? I don't know what the kid's name is.
kid.
But yeah, the kid.
Bart.
I love him.
Bart, yeah.
Bart is fucking. It is Bart. Bart is fucking so good at skateboard. He's
Right.
so good at skateboarding
good
and
at
just getting into it, mixing it up, chopping it down.
Can one last thing I want to hit on before we roll out of this, and you brought it up. You really hit it well, Rory, and it was about the dynamic of their marriage of Kristin and Homer's, and I think that there's probably a world, I'm gonna guess, where if she did say like, I just don't think based off the way they've reacted to us having this child in our lives that you should be going over there, based on the way they're treating us.
Yeah.
And he is, I'm going to assume, as you talked about, right? We don't know everything and we're not professionals. He's going to be like, yeah, but that's my family.
Yes.
And I would say, right. But do you understand there is a very parallel world where you don't speak to your parents anymore because of how they're treating us, and when they say to you, you need to come see your mom and dad, you looked at them and you go, yeah, but guys, Kristin and Bart, that's my family.
Yeah.
So it's like, which way do you want this to cut? Because one is like, yeah, but mom, dad, those people you're being shitty to, that's my family.
Here's what I would say, and I would say this to Homer and Kristin. I've never been more certain of something in my life than this idea.
I love it.
I think you need to sit Homer down, and I think you need to go, let's say your parents loved our adopted child, Bart, and supported us and were fantastic. But your dad decided he wanted to buy a new Toyota. But I don't like Toyota. I actually like Ford.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you,
it is this
ridiculous. I
ridiculous.
will never talk to your dad again. I will talk to your mother twice, but I will never go in their home again. And I'm going to actively make sure Bart also doesn't go do that. Would you ever feel the need to confront me about that choice? Right. Or would you just say, that's my wife, and she's made that choice to never talk to my family again? As ridiculous as that argument may be about Ford and Toyota, that is my wife who's made that choice. And if you say, yes, I would leave you do it, then I know that is just who you are. You are staying out of it no matter what. Yeah. But if you were like, well, I think that would be insane, I want you to know that is currently what is happening, except it isn't stupid like Ford and Toyota. It's actually you and I potentially saving someone's life is what we're doing.
Really
you know what a suicide rate is for kids that grow up in orphanages that then age an orphanage and have to go into the world with literally almost zero knowledge of what the world even is or what is expected of them, and also how people have treated them. So their internal personal perception of themselves and who they are is almost always negative. That's what they think. People are like, these kids come out of orphanages and they're troublemakers. They don't mean to be. They don't maybe even necessarily know that they fucking are. They don't know where the boundaries or anything is. No one has wanted them.
Some of them haven't really been loved.
So put yourself in the position of going, no one wants you ever. You and I made a decision to pull someone out of that and show them we do want them and you can have a good life and we're going to try to provide it. And that made your dad stop talking to me.
Right.
Go fix the motor.
And at what point?
And I'd pat him on the back and I go, now go make sure he has the internet so he can gain zero knowledge from it.
But what about this? What if the kid's ugh?
Yeah. And at what point do you look, or do you mean you think the kid's ugly?
No, I said, what if it's ugly?
Oh, well, I guess you probably...
And when she said we're adopting and this is what he looks like, that's when Abe went, well, hold on now, let me... Jesus Christ!
Get a red Team Abe hat.
I guess this won't be as effective as it was going to be, but...
Oh, it's going to be emotional?
I was going to say, I would look at and be, did we adopt this child to tell that kid, it's okay for some people to treat you like shit?
Exactly.
Did we adopt a child? Did we adopt a child to go?
That's a good point.
Just so you know, we're gonna be okay with certain people treating you like shit.
Yeah.
We want you to come into our home, and some people we're gonna it's okay that they don't like you. Like no.
Kristin, you gotta hit.
No matter whether you're
you gotta
ugly
hit
or
us
not.
back.
Whether
If this is a saga, if there's more to this, you better page it up. You better write us back because I'm very curious what you may or may not do. And also write us back and say this is how you did it and maybe you didn't take any of the steps that we said. Maybe you did nothing.
I think detachment
I would love
can be
to
a good
hear,
thing.
now that you've heard us kind of talk about it, I would love to hear a rebuttal, be it in agreement or, conflict, whatever.
Yeah.
Contrary to our opinion of it. I would love to know. But do leave Homer. Okay.
Roar. You're on a roll.
This is one of the most intense. I mean, there's been many intense ones, but that ranks in one of the top
I think so
5
too.
intense. Like, ooh.
Also, I gotta say,
love these pen pals.
To get letters where it is so widely different than other letters after 4 years, like that's a flavor we have never even gotten close to. That
Yeah.
and it blows your mind. You're like, oh yeah, true. Like personal conflict in people's lives is infinite. There are 80 billion zillion flavors. It's unending of someone going, anyways, this is what I'm dealing with, and you're like, oh, I kind of thought we covered every base. That's
And then how to make
there.
friends is that vanilla that all ice creams
Yes.
start from.
But
and
even
then you
that one,
add
but
the
even
other-
that one being unique is like, well, it's because I'm in a red state. You're like,
Right.
oh, no one said that before.
Yeah.
Also, I just hope that Kristin, this probably isn't their real name. I just hope they did this whole letter and we're like, what the fuck is Homer's wife's name? I'm just gonna go with Kristin.
Sign off with it.
Just gonna go
What
with
if she meant to write Marge, but was so in the moment, and then as she's watching this, she's like, "Fuck! I wrote Kristin."
She thought it was Kristin.
He's gonna know. He's gonna know for sure.
I thank you for sharing this with us.
Or
Please
what
let
if
us know
her
what
real
happens.
name is Marge?
Oh, so she was like, oh fuck, Kristin. All right, we wish you well. Sincerely, your pen pals, Daniel Van Kirk.
Rory Scovel.
And Ramin Nazer this time.
Love it.
Anybody need an almond?
No, I quit a long time ago.
No. What? I feel bad that I'm doing it in front of you.